Hi guys, and welcome to Life at Gaz, where I put a new sea fishing video on every Wednesday, and I also do a freshwater video every month as well. So if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and you can keep up to date with all that's happening. It's that time of year, we've got to the end of another year, and what I'm going to do is start my fishing roundup. Now I'm going to split this year's into two parts. The reason being is because I've got a freshwater one as well, which will come in the start of January. But what I'll do is just give you a very quick run through. This year I've had a fantastic season. I've actually caught more fish this year than I have any others. In fact, I've caught in total 381 fish. Now that breaks up over 30 different species, 9 of which of those species are freshwater, and they'll come in the next video. Now for the sea, I've actually caught 21 species this year, so it's been quite a productive season, and I've caught 330 fish, which compared to last year I caught around about 150. So I've had an incredibly productive season, and what I'll do is I'll just take you through some of the fish that I've caught through the year and give you all the totals. So let's get into it with the very first species. Now I only caught one of these guys this year, but they are actually quite rare, and catching them in the sea, I catch them occasionally but not too often, and that is the freshwater eel. Now European freshwater eel, the scientific name Anguilla anguilla, now I've remembered that ever since I was a kid. These guys are slippery, they're slimy, and they're not a fish that I really go out and target, not only because they're rare, but also because you end up covered in slime by them. Next on the list is another little fish I only have one of. Now these are spectacularly unusual little fish, and I'd love to catch more of them just because they fascinate me, and this is a long spine scorpion fish. Now some people do say these guys are venomous. They're actually not. These guys don't have any venom in them at all really, and they're often, I think, confused with a scorpion fish found in the tropics, which are very dangerous if you get stung by them. Adding to the total, I've also had 7 rocklin. Now these are all 5-bearded rocklin, as they're the only species we really get around here. Another fish I've only had the one of is the weaver fish. Now I'm quite happy with that, because last year I caught 5 of them and 2 of them managed to sting me. Now although some people react badly to it, I'm quite lucky and I don't. It just hurts. But having said that, to only get 1 weaver this year I see as a bonus. Well, the next one on the list, of course, is the most prolific fish around here. These guys breed in their 2nd year of life, and that's why there's so many of them. Now I'm talking about the humble whiting, and I've actually caught over 100 of them this year, to be precise 133 of them, and the biggest went up to 14 ounces. Now these fish throughout most of the year are quite a reliable fish to catch, because they're always about. You can't really get away from them because their mouths, even at a small size, are big enough to take 4 hooks quite readily. So of course you do catch lots and lots of these fish if you're fishing out here on the Fylde coast. Next is a fish which is incredibly easy to catch if you're in clear water, so very difficult to catch off a blackpool. So this is a fish that you either catch out on a boat for me, or travel to somewhere with a bit of clearer water to be able to see them. And this is the humble mackerel, to which I've had 8 of them this year. Well, from Whitehaven we're going to go back to Blackpool, and this next fish was a PB for me, and it's the first PB in this video, and this one was one which I was lucky enough to catch with my little girl as well, because she loves coming out fishing with me. Unfortunately, the weather being right, so she's going to enjoy it, doesn't always happen up here, especially when it needs to line up with my days off and days where she's not in school as well. So we got out, got a bit of fishing in, and picked up a flounder that weighed in at a pound in weight, and that for me is quite a good flounder. I know you can catch the bigger ones up the rivers, but I don't really get a chance to go up there. As well as the 12 flounder that I had, I caught 3 other species of flatfish as well. And the next one I had 4 of, and these were Dover sole. Now Dover sole, some years you can catch quite a few of them here, but I didn't really go out looking for them this year. I caught 4 in total, but the 4 that I caught I then sort of give up fishing for them and started using bigger hooks. Now with sole, unless they're an absolute sort of beast of a sole, you're not going to get them on those bigger hooks because of the shape of their mouth. But these are fantastic fish to catch. They're very sort of strong fighting for a flatfish as well, and you can sort of feel them all the way in, sort of undulating around out there. But as well as that, if you get them big enough, these are a fantastic eating fish as well, and they're great pan fried. Next up, we're going to move on to another flatfish. Now this is a very prolific flatfish, and they're found sort of quite commonly around Blackpool. There are areas of the UK where these guys are actually quite rare and no one sort of seems to catch them, but that's not the case up here. Now they're a fantastic eating fish, and the fish I'm on about obviously are dabs. Now dabs, they taste great, but the problem is it's not very often you get them in size, and the ones you do get in size are often a little bit on the thin side to warrant taking. So to get a thick fish that is the right size to take is obviously sort of quite difficult. Now I've done quite well on these guys this year, considering most of the time I'm not fishing for them. I've still managed to land 47 of them in total. So as you can sort of imagine, they're with numbers like that, they're not that uncommon here. Now dabs themselves, as far as the flatfish go, are quite an easy one to sort of distinguish, because the ones which look similar, i.e. sort of flounder in place, they're quite smooth skinned, rubbing it both ways, whereas with dabs they feel like sort of not quite like sandpaper, but a lot rougher if you rub them from tail to head rather than head to tail. In total, I caught 4 different species of flatfish, but out of all of them, these are the ones which stick out most for me, and that's because I got a place PB this year as well. Now it wasn't a huge amount bigger than the fish I caught the previous year, but it was a PB by around about an ounce, which is good enough for me. Now this place weighed in at a pound, and it was a fairly long fish as well. But I've caught 11 plaice in total, and out of all the plaice, this one was of course the pick of the litter. Now I love catching plaice, they tend to give you quite a good bite, and especially when you get a bigger one, you can feel them sort of fighting you all the way in as you're bringing them in as well. Next we got another fish you could end world hunger with. Now I caught 66 of these guys this year, and this is one of the smallest members of the shark family we have around the UK, and known as a cat shark or a dogfish. Everyone calls them doggies, but you cannot get away from them. Now I've been out tope fishing and caught these guys on whole mackerel, as well as catching them on the smallest baits as well. As well as the lesser spotted dogfish, you've also got the greater spotted dogfish as well, known as the Bulas. Now, different to the dogfish themselves, most people quite enjoy catching Bulas just because of the sheer size of them. Now, I only had 2 of them this year, both of them out on a boat, and the biggest one weighed in at 8 pounds, and obviously they do look like quite a chunk of a fish when you bring them up. Always impressive for a photo with them. Now when it comes to catching Bulas, these guys can be a little bit trickier, as they're not as sort of voracious as dogfish when it comes to snatching at the bait. What they'll do is they'll mouth it, and what will happen a lot of the time is that these fish will get all the way up to the surface before spitting the hook out and then swimming back down, once letting you have a quick look at them up there without letting you land them. Another fish I only had 2 of this year were ballan wrasse. Now I got both of these fishing over at Anglesey off of the rocks, and when I was out fishing for them, I really was targeting them. I just dropped in nice and short just in front of me, just down by my feet, and managed to pluck 2 out. Now although I didn't catch any absolutely monstrous wrasse, the biggest one I caught was just over £2. And it was actually quite impressive to feel these fish fight, because they fight a lot stronger than I ever thought they would, and therefore I had quite a lot of fun with them. Now that being said, if I get the chance to go back out for them again, I think I'm definitely going to go and give it a go. As well as the wrasse, I also managed 4 pouting, and all these came on the same trip while I was fishing out on the Blue Mink on a wreck trip out over near the Isle of Man. Now these, I didn't really want to take them, but they'd already blown their swim bladders coming up from such depths, so they came home with me. As well as the pouting on the same trip, I also ended up with 2 coultfish as well. Now one of the things which I was quite surprised with the coultfish was sort of how much energy they had and how strong they were when they fought. I'd have given these 2 fish probably, if I was being generous, around about sort of £2 each, but they were definitely punching above their weight, and I'd love to go out one day and catch a big one and see what they're like on your line. Another hard fighting fish that I've had this year are pollock. Now I've not had any monsters. The biggest pollock I've had this year was £6 free, and I had 6 pollock in total, and most of them came from the wreck trip when I went out over to the Isle of Man, where I had the coultfish and the pouting, but also I had one off the shore, a tiny little one, whilst feathering for mackerel as well. Sticking with the boats, I also had a couple of shark species out there as well. Now I've not done too well with these sort of fish the last sort of couple of years. In previous years I've done a lot better, but the last couple of years I just can't seem to touch them. And this first one coming up is a tope. Now although I had 2 tope this year, both of them were youngsters, very small, and hopefully in the next sort of year or 2 I'm going to get a chance to get out there and to put a bigger tope up on the side. Now it is more than likely that if I catch a big tope, it'll be the heaviest fish I've ever caught, so that's going to be one of my sort of thoughts in mind for next year, is to try and get a tope above £20 and just see if I can put one on my channel. Now the next little shark coming up today is a smoothhound. Now I used to love catching smoothhound. I used to find it incredibly easy, and pretty much no matter where I went I was able to sort of catch into them, and I didn't ever really have a problem. But the last 2 years, just like tope, I've really sort of hit a blank with them, and I've not been able to do sort of too much with them. I've had people either side of me catching them, and no matter what I do, I just don't seem to touch them. Hopefully next year that'll turn around, and the smoothhound will want to come and play with me, and I'll be able to catch a few of them to get them on my channel again. But this little smoothhound was the only one I caught all year, probably around about sort of the £2–2.5 mark. Nothing sort of too massive, but still nice to get that species under my belt. The next fish out was a fish I had low water in at my North Pier. Now this is an incredibly memorable fish for me. Not only was it a PB thornback ray weighing in at £7 3 ounces, but it was just the bite, the sort of fight and everything that went along with it. The whole experience rather than just the fish. Now, when I was out fishing for this guy, well, girl technically, I sort of fished out sort of just as the tide was turning, coming back in, as I know there's a little area there which can be a bit of a hot spot for rays, and that paid off for me there. Now, I didn't catch too many rays this year. In fact, I didn't really go out and target them too often. I only had a couple of trips out for them and managed 3 rays in total. And the fact that one of them was a PB, that was a big bonus for me as well. Now, this, like I said, is quite a memorable fish, and it's one which I'm probably not going to forget too soon. Also, this year, I've got 2 more species to go through, and one of which, obviously, is cod. Now, I've not had a huge amount of them. I've only had 6 this year. I've had 2 at about 2.5 pound, which have been the biggest so far. Now it is obviously winter whilst I'm sort of sorting this video out, so hopefully next year, the start of this winter, I'm going to find a few more out there and hopefully bring them to the channel as well. Well, finally, I've got probably one of the most memorable fish of the year. Now, this was a PB bass for me. This one was £2.13, 51 centimetres, gave an absolutely phenomenal bite, nearly took the rod off the rest, and really was just a beautiful fish to catch. Now, when it comes down to catching bass this year, I've actually done better than I have in sort of the previous years I've been doing my channel, as I've caught 11 of them. Now, they're not the most common or numerous fish around this bit of coast, but out of those 11 fish I caught, 4 of them were over £2, so not too bad considering. Now, hopefully, with the coming year, those bigger fish are going to hang around, they're going to get even bigger, and I'm going to break that PB again. Well, unfortunately, that brings the sea fishing section of this sort of fishing video to an end. Now, part 2, which will be a freshwater video, will come up in January, and I'd like to wish you guys all a great sort of new year. Thanks for the support on the channel, it's really meant a lot to us. Now, if you like this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and then also I've got the 2 cards. One's from my last fishing video, and the other one is from my sea fishing playlist.